Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to kind of clarify something, and it really is just about the mindset and the wording that we use when we approach things with training. And I think people need to understand when I say this, I'm not saying it just over an argument of semantics. I am having an argument of mindset and trying to achieve certain goals, of having an appropriate mindset. So when I state to people there is no such thing as an isolation movement, that it's a bodybuilder term, and that the real science terms are single joint and multi-joint, they're like, yeah, but everyone knows what you mean. And it's like, but do they? Do they know what we mean? And the thing is, I don't think they do, because what I see is this mindset, because as soon as we start talking about isolating, they mean try to remove other muscles. Well, that's not necessarily what you're trying to do, okay? There's no evidence that removing another muscle makes the muscle you're working work harder if it's still part of the movement, right? Okay, obviously a curl versus a chin-up because you've removed the lats. All right, yeah, obviously the biceps doing the work, because you're doing a completely different exercise. It doesn't use the lats. When we start getting over to movements that use multiple muscles, and this is what people are missing with this, they say, well, I'm trying to do this to isolate quads more or pecs more. But why? Well, because I want them to grow faster. Aha, so there we go. So why are you trying to isolate them? What does that have to do with it? Because the assumption is that if we try to find a way to de-emphasize another muscle, it makes the muscles we want to grow more. But that's not always the case. Here's what I would say. Instead of focusing on that, why don't we just focus on working the muscle? In other words, when you look at a squat or a leg press, okay, either one, I don't care, right? Both good exercises, both have their place. And you say, well, I want my quads to grow more. Well, don't worry about how do I work less glute, because is that the goal? No, your goal is to work the quads more. So you should look at the movement. Okay, now look how deep I'm squatting there. And you should say, well, what makes the quad work more? Biomechanically, what's the quad's job? You're like, well, it does some stuff with the hip and hip extension. Okay, yeah. But what's the main job? Flexing the knee, right? Or extending the knee. So if we can get the knee joint to the most degrees of flexion that we can, in other words, we bend the knee as much as possible under load, meaning not just bend it, but we need the load to be there when we're at the most bent point. Well, what should we do? Well, then you could look at the way that you squat and say, well, I should probably I should consider a narrower stance if I can get deeper with that, okay, right? I should consider squatting deeper. Lo and behold, or leg pressing deeper knee bend, right? So instead of looking at, I'm trying to focus on it and use the other muscle, no. Let's just look at the quad and say, I want the damn quad to grow more. What do I need to do to get that quad loaded? How do I make it work more? How do I put more work on the quad? Well, you look at it and do that and say, well, that's probably what I should be doing. It should be common sense. But you're not trying to isolate it. You're not thinking, you stop thinking about removing other muscles. Stop. Think about how can I work the muscle more? What would happen if the other muscles worked more too? Because in some cases they might, and I'm not saying they always will, but on a lot of movements, the things that we do to work one muscle more might make all the muscles work more, or another muscle work more. So trying to remove it's not helpful. It's just a good side effect. Hey, my glutes also happen to work harder. Fantastic. It's not a negative. All right, bench pressing. You see me over here doing some pretty flat back benching with a wide grip. All right, am I doing this to isolate the pectorals more? No. I would love it if my triceps worked harder too. I would love it if everything worked harder. So in this case, how do we work more chest? Take a wide enough grip that we get a stretch on the chest. Oh, that would help. How about we touch the chest and pause on the chest? Well, that would help. How about I reduce my arch a little bit so I can get more stretch and really stretch the pecs more? Oh, that works too. Now, any of that make the triceps work less? Did I really? So I shouldn't be trying to isolate it. Because if I stretch deeper, my triceps doing a lot of work. Yeah, they are. They're getting stretched slightly deeper also. My elbows are going lower and my elbows are bending more. My triceps are getting worked pretty hard. It's just that people associate triceps with the lockout, but they get stretched on a bench at the bottom. Okay? So by making the range of motion longer, I've really increased the pec work, but have I removed tricep? Of course not. All right, curls. Well, you don't want your forearms and your shoulders to take all the work. Well, they can't. It's a curl. So instead, you see me doing a curl right there. Well, if I want to work the biceps more, what do I really need to be focused on? Well, making sure the biceps get stretched. Get them in a lengthened position. Make sure I lock my elbows on every rep. Curl in such a way that my biceps actually get stretched at the bottom. Okay, what was I doing there? I'm doing a curl, leaning forward slightly so that my biceps get stretched. Okay, a lot of tension on them because I've also got the wrist back a hair. Curling up to the top, biceps are taking a lot of load there on the way up. Okay, pretty simple, right? Do you need to stand around and worry about, man, I need to make sure I don't use any delt? No, just make sure you're working the bicep. What's the biceps job? Look at the biceps job and say, hey, what angles do I need to do? What joints do I need to move to make sure that muscle gets worked? Be like, because Blaha's got terrible biceps. He really needs bigger biceps. Should probably spend some time figuring out how to curl better. Well, there you go. So it's about mindset, not of saying, hey, how can I remove other muscles? It's like, no, how can I put more load on the muscle I want to work? How can I stretch it further? That doesn't require you to think about removing other muscles. Stop. We're not trying to remove anything. We're trying to add things. We're trying to get better stimulus. Because we want to get bigger, we want to get stronger, we want to get more jacked. So focus on that. That's why I don't like the isolation term thrown around. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.